girls from Boulder City, Nevada. Alexis Busselman. She was an athlete herself, so our whole theme is move your body, move your business. And this duo is doing that every single day. So she was a swimmer at Texas A&M. She has a degree in communication and business administration. She's the mom of two. She was in a digital advertising agency, but recently skyrocketed to senior sales coordinator, and now gets to be a stay-at-home mama because of this business. So she is doing it, and she is doing it fast, and she is doing it well. So we're going to be inspired by her. But with her is her brother, Zane Grothe. You might want to write that name down and snap a picture when he's up here, because he is going to be amazing. Or he is amazing. He's going to be amazing in the Olympics coming up in 2020. So already he holds 7 records at Auburn. His career has multiple accolades, including the USA National titles, World Cup medals, World Championship medals, and 3 US Open records. He is the current American record holder in 2 races. He is ranked top 10 in the world in 3 races, not just 1. He already just this December represented the U.S. and China at the World Championships, and like I said, is a 2020 Olympic hopeful. So we are so excited to have this dynamic duo up here. And I'm going to say something else about Zane. He is a smart cat because he also has a BS in aerospace engineering. Okay, so let's give it up for Zane and Alexis.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are so honored to be here today and able to share our story with all of you. Our journey with Juice Plus actually began 17 years ago. We were children on the family health study. I'm the oldest, and then my brother, and then we also have 2 sisters. We are from the Las Vegas area, as Holly mentioned, and we were all high-level competitive swimmers. Our parents knew the importance of good nutrition, and they really instilled good eating habits with us early on. When my mom found out about Juice Plus, the research behind the product, she flew down to Tennessee to see what everything was about before she started our family on it. And we have always loved it. It's something that was always a priority in our life as children. I remember coming up for breakfast and there being our Juice Plus for each of our chairs. She had our Juice Plus sitting out, and if we did not take it with our breakfast, it was sitting there at dinner. And she made sure we took it before she'd serve our meal that evening. And we really grew up in a household where nutrition was the forefront, and we knew as athletes what an important role it was playing in our lives. And now, my life has really came full circle because I myself have a child that's on the family health study. So Kennedy is 4, and it was the topic of her health that really, where I found myself sharing Juice Plus for the very first time last year. She is my oldest Juice Plus baby. I also have a 1-year-old, and we've never needed an antibiotic, never had a sick visit to the doctor. And I didn't realize how different that was to our friends and family who had children our age. And there was a very close family friend of ours last year who reached out to me, and she just said, Alexis, I'd really love to hear from you on what your family does to stay healthy. She said, I just don't understand how our children spend so much time together, and we're constantly on antibiotics and battling different illnesses, and your children have never had anything. And while I listed off some of the things our family does to stay healthy, I mentioned Juice Plus, and she asked me to share more with her. And after telling her about just the simplicity of fruits and vegetables in a capsule that nobody gets enough, she immediately wanted to sign up her family. And that was my first Juice Plus customer. And that's actually where my business story really began, because it was that month that I received a phone call from my National Marketing Director, Carolyn Swanger. She did not know who I was because my last name was different, but she was calling because she saw that I put in an order, and she wanted to just share with me a little bit about the business answer any questions I had, and just really be able to share with me what this community is all about. And to be honest, I was on maternity leave at that point with my son, and I had an incredible job. I was in the corporate world. When my daughter was born, I negotiated to work from home. So here I was, making a substantial income, working from home with both my babies, and my husband and I truly felt like we had it all. And the financial aspect, it just wasn't an issue for us. And I told her on that call, thanks but no thanks. I'm definitely not interested in the business. And she told me that that was fine, but she'd be calling me back a few months later to check in with me again. And she did. So over the next few months, as I came back from maternity leave, and it felt like I could just never catch up. I was constantly behind in my work. And now I had 2 babies at home. I was exclusively nursing, and it was just so tough. I remember showing up at a wellness visit with the wrong child, and showing up at the office without my computer, and there were just things that were slipping through the cracks, and it was becoming so evident to me that I would not be able to upkeep, this super mom lifestyle that I had been maintaining in these last few years. And so, the end of April, my phone rang again, and it was Carolyn. And she said, Alexis, you are 100 points away from your HLP. It's the last day of the month. I had no idea what points were. I had no idea what an HLP was. And I'm pretty sure it was like 5 o'clock my time, because she's Pacific. And I was just like, I'm running out the door. I said, if I put in a personal order, will that be enough? And she said, yes. And before I could hurry her off the phone again, she got me to commit to a 3-way call that next week. And at that point, I was looking for a little bit more information. And the only resources I really knew about was what I had found in my virtual office when I went to put in orders. And I'd read the information in there, but it was nothing compared to what I learned that next week on that phone call with Carolyn and her upline, Lenore Bayless. They shared with me the resources of the Freedom Revolution, the Healthy Living Revolution, the Shred 10. I had never heard of any of this. I literally was just figuring it out as people, were seeing a few social media posts that I had made about my family's health and signing up. And so over the next few weeks, I really spent a lot of time digging into those resources, watching those videos in the evenings, learning what this business was about. And it wasn't too long after that where I came to my husband and I just said, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And he told me, that's great, I'm glad that you're enjoying it. And I said, no, I'm going to quit my job. He just told me I was crazy. He said, you make 6 figures, you work from home. How can we do this? And I just told him, I said, I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I know that this is God's plan. And we need to make this step as a family. And it was the best decision that we ever made. And so a couple weeks later, I had my first event. Keep in mind, I did not know anyone who took Juice Plus. I did not know anybody who was in the business, other than my NMD who lived across the country. And so I had my first event. I'd never been to an event. And I just did what came natural to me, which was sharing about the research and sharing about the simplicity of the fact that everyone needs this. People's children could get it for free. Every person in the room that night signed up to be on the product. And I also shared that I was going to be part of this mission and that I wanted every one of them to be part of it with me. And every person chose to be part of it. And many of them are in the room today.
Yeah.
And so my business just took off. I really dedicated myself to having events 3 and 4 times a week. And let me tell you, as you're transitioning out of a corporate job and training someone and raising 2 babies and you're a wife and all of these things, it felt impossible at times. But I knew from the videos in those resources that if I was going to be successful at this business, I had to make time to have events. And if you can get people in front of you and talk to them and really share this product and share this mission, they will hear you. And after we have every event, we go to the back and we sign everyone up. We don't go home and think about it. We get everyone signed up right then and there. We always share the product and the business right away. Every person who was part of my team joined the day they signed up for the product. And when I walked the stage in Tampa at my very first conference as a senior sales coordinator, 5 months into this business, I had 75 team members. Woo! And of those 75, like 2 had received their second shipment of Juice Plus. So that is how new we were all to this business. And we embraced our upline and everything that we have available to us to make us successful, especially when it comes to talking to people in this business who can help you, because there are so many resources. So as I stand here in front of you today, I just want you to know that that person that you talked to that said no because they're too busy or they have a really good job and they have it all together, you never know when it's going to be the right time for them. And you never know if they could be your next senior sales coordinator in 5 months. Just don't give up on some of these people that you've been talking to. And our family has truly embodied success at a high level. I feel like as children growing up, it's definitely been something to just always strive for our goals and work as hard as we possibly can. And I'm going to let Zane share with you a little bit about the successes that he's had in his life.
Yeah, I feel like the Juice Plus journey kind of starts as an individual journey. You try it yourself, maybe a little skeptical, whether it's the research or your personal journey with it, and using the product, it kind of expands from that once you're convinced, and it moves on to like a whole family aspect that Alexis was touching on. This is really cool to be here, and it's like a long lost family. I've been on the product for 17 years, and it's always just kind of been my thing that I've always had and been doing myself. And now to like be at my first conference and I'm on stage, and it's cool to be here with everybody talking about this. I appreciate the millennial introduction. I will be using my phone for notes. I got a little bio in the introduction. It said I'm a distance swimmer. Swimming is already an endurance sport, but as a distance swimmer, I swim the longest races in the pool. The longest one being the mile, the 1,650 yards, or 1,500 meters. And to train for that, I'm swimming about 45 miles a week, and I'm consuming on average between 6,000 and 7,000 calories a day. And growing up, starting Juice Plus when I was 10 years old, I was briefly introduced to healthy food and understanding how that affected my body. But at 10 years old, maybe up till 15, maybe to 18, you don't quite grasp it. You know, that you just, mom says eat healthy, mom's buying the groceries, mom's cooking the meals. You know, it was all kind of put in front of me. It wasn't until I was able to go to college and after college and experience it firsthand when I could eat some junk food here or there and understand how that affected my body. You know, now eating 7,000 calories a day, I truly understand if I want to go a meal or two with junk food, it's going to hurt me at the next practice, the next day, it may even carry on in the next week. It all really affects itself. One thing that I did notice as a 10-year-old was the allergies that I had. I had pretty bad seasonal pollen allergies, and personally, when I started Juice Plus, it cleared up pretty quickly. And as a little kid, that's probably one of the hardest things I had to tackle, was just the runny nose, coughing, maybe getting sick all the time because of it. And when that cleared up, I was like, this stuff's magic. I'm never leaving this behind. I'm always going to be on. I was convinced so early. And what's funny is just last year, I was doing a lot of traveling. I was going to a friend's wedding and a swim meet and then another PR event. I had 3 weekends in a row that I was out of town, and I was using the same bag I had, and I had a nice little convenient spot to pack my Juice Plus. And when I went to my friend's wedding, it it was weird. I was stuck in like a friend's bedroom, so I just kind of didn't unpack much and just kind of pulled what I needed out of the bag and forgot about my Juice Plus there for a second. But when I got back to town, I went right back to training and swimming and kind of left the bag there for the next weekend. And the pattern kind of continued for 3 weeks. And by the third week, I was out of town and my allergies just exploded again. And I was like, what's going on? And immediately I knew, I was like, holy moly, I've been toting my Juice Plus around and haven't touched it. I knew right away what it was. And sure enough, I got back on it, I cleared it up, and I guess, I've gone however many years without realizing that I still had pollen allergies, and Juice Plus and getting all those healthy fruit and vegetables in me was, help creating a shield for that. So, just last year, I'm remembering that it was, how powerful it was. Let's see. Yeah, when I went to college, Auburn was notorious for being a sprint school. I signed my letter of intent to a school in 2009, and they were just coming off their 6th national championship in 7 years. And if you know anything about NCAA swimming, a lot of the points come from relays. Relays are worth double points, but relays are a lot shorter events. So sprinters in the NCAA are very valuable. A lot of Americans want to be sprinters, to score points in the NCAA on the relays and in their individual events. I was lucky enough to get on the 4x200 relay, just the longest one possible, even if I could. And so having a lot of sprinters, a lot of guys who come to college, a big high-level program, their first thought is put muscle on. And it was funny, I get halfway through the year and I'm looking at all the guys' lockers, and there are these super big tubs of who knows what, muscle gainer, carbohydrate, additives, just all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, I got Juice Plus. It's pretty good, right? That'll help me out. And what's funny is, it was about halfway through the year, the nutritionist that works at the university with the athletic department was sitting everybody down, and I look back now, it was kind of like an intervention. They were sitting us down and were like, okay, what are you taking? What are you taking? We want to make sure this stuff's healthy. We want to make sure we know what you're taking. You're not going to test positive for a performance-enhancing substance that may be mixed in with these supplements that are not approved by the FDA. And I kind of sat there as a little freshman thinking, I don't take anything. I wasn't even thinking about Juice Plus with nutrition facts being on the label. I did bring it up, though, and they go, okay, let's see it. Bring it up. Well, we're going to take a look at that. So I handed it over and called my mom. I was like, yeah, they're taking a look at Juice Plus. And she was like, okay, well, I hope so. And it was like the next day, they gave it back. They're like, it's good. You're fine. You're good with that. I was like, I know. I know, this stuff's pretty good. I didn't even think twice about it. But, being at a program that had just won so many national titles, they didn't even look twice either at Juice Plus. They saw it and was like, no, you're clear. You're good to go. Keep taking that. And obviously I didn't need to build the muscle, but understanding now that I've been out of school for so long and I'm at probably probably the peak of my career swimming and training, and my whole life is revolving around improving my athletic performance. I understand, like Dr. Phillips was talking yesterday about overtraining, and I feel like being able to look back now, these last 4 years that I've lived in Indiana, I probably have been overtraining and been able to sustain it because of my habits of taking Juice Plus and eating my fruits and vegetables. I can tell, a lot of times I tell people that being a professional athlete is kind of like driving a Formula One race car. Any little detail that you change on that car, whether it's the aerodynamic foils on it, or the different tires, or a different fuel mixture, the driver's going to know, and they're going to feel that driving around the course. I can feel that with swimming. Like if I change one meal in my routine and eat out, eat fast food for lunch, I'll feel it at the next practice. I'll probably feel it the next day. And even the caloric intake, if I range that a little bit, I understand how that changes. And it was just like when I was talking about allergies, it took just a couple weeks without taking my Juice Plus before it hit me, and I realized something's changed. What was it? And fortunately, I realized it was that I hadn't been taking my Juice Plus. When I travel a lot internationally. In fact, just in December, I was in China for 2 weeks for World Championships. Then I flew to Miami for a training trip for 2.5 days. Then I went to Rio de Janeiro for 2.5 days for an open water race. Then I came to Texas for Christmas for 2.5 days. Then back to Bloomington for 2.5 days, and then 2019 started. And there's a lot of junk that goes around on airplanes and in international cities. You know, I picked up a little bit of a cold when I was in China, and I can imagine why, that maybe there's a strain of the rhinovirus on the other side of the planet that I may not be having the immune system ready for. But I kept my Juice Plus on me, I kept taking it. In fact, every flight I take, domestic, international, when I'm traveling for meets, I've always got 4 things in my carry-on bag. I got water, I got food. As a millennial, I've got my electronics, my iPad, and my headphones, and my Juice Plus. Always. I mean, it's a 15-hour flight to China, it's a 10-hour flight to Rio, and I probably take my Juice Plus 2 or 3 times during the flight. Get up there, you know, take it, eat some food, and, you know, continue on. But honestly, it's always in my bag. You hear me walk on the plane. It's in there. I'm hoping nobody's looking at me and my bag's making noises walking on an airplane, but sure enough, it's the Juice Plus, which is pretty cool. Another thing, last year, it was actually a couple months after when I realized I wasn't taking my Juice Plus, I got back in the routine and made sure I was taking it. I was packing last minute for a meet in Columbus, Ohio that I was driving to. And I quickly grabbed everything that I had, all my Juice Plus, and threw it in my bag. And when I got out to Columbus, it's about a week-long meet, a couple days preparation before the 4 days of racing. I realized that my Juice Plus bottles were pretty much empty, and I kind of freaked out. I was already kind of feeling under the weather, and I knew going through 4 days of racing it was going to tear my body down, and I figured I didn't have a chance of not getting sick without my Juice Plus. So I was looking at it and thinking, I'm about to drive 7 hours round trip to go back and get my Juice Plus in Indiana. But then I remembered that somebody in my family was going gung-ho in this business. I called her up and said, hey, can you help me out?
Well,
is there anything you can do?
It was 10 o'clock and I got a text that said I have an emergency. Is what it really was. And he said, I said, well, of course, what's going on? And he said, I'm almost out of Juice Plus. I was like, well, did you call Mom? And yeah, Mom put it in the order and it's shipping to my apartment, but I need you to overnight it to my hotel room. I don't know if any of you in here have ever overnighted Juice Plus. You wouldn't think it's that expensive, but it is. So we found out how many capsules we needed of each color, because Zane knows exactly how much he takes every single day, and I overnighted it to him.
Yeah, I very much appreciated that. I expected like this huge shipment of all these bottles. I'd be loaded up, and it was just like little Ziploc bags just to get me through the week. And I was like, perfect, that's all I need right there. But it did. It helped me get through the meet, and prepped me, of course, going into the Nationals and the Pan Pacific Championships in Tokyo over the summer. Speaking of swimming and being at international meets, domestic meets, stuff like that, one thing that is kind of funny, a thing that I like to do, is take my Juice Plus right on deck. When I'm training, I probably take my Juice Plus just like anybody else would. I take it before a meal and incorporate that into my daily routine. But when I go to a swim meet, I bring it to the pool with me and I use it kind of like a recovery method. As soon as I'm done racing, I'm taking my Juice Plus and I'm washing it down before I even change out of my racing suit and before I even start warming down to get the lactic acid out. And it's kind of funny is I've seen over the years a lot of my fellow national team members or even the up-and-coming college swimmers take these supplements, and a lot of times they're kind of secretive. They're bringing it in bottles that aren't in the original containers, and they're mixing it kind of in the locker room sink or kind of hiding it because they're either ashamed of what they're taking or they're trying to avoid the scrutiny of being identified as someone who could possibly be taking something that's going to make them a better swimmer, whether it be an illegal performing-enhancing drug or something still that they just don't want people to know about. And I feel completely the opposite. I swim, I leave my bag right on deck, I pull out my bottles, they're colorful, and I kind of sit back like, check this out. This is what I'm taking, Everybody feast your eyes. Once you break an American record, you can't go anywhere on the pool deck without people analyzing every move you make, whether it's warm up, warm down, the color of the water bottle you're drinking. You know, they're looking at everything. So after that race, I pull it out and say, now's my moment, check it out. This is what I'm taking. I let everybody see it. It's kind of a cool thing to know that Juice Plus has that NSF certification. And I remember seeing that growing up and thinking, wow, that's really cool. That's got to be pretty important. When I moved to Bloomington about 4 years ago, a buddy of mine who got me up there, he said, the training here is harder than it's ever been. Obviously, that's why you're here, but you're going to need some help. He said, you're going to need a protein supplement, you're going to need this and that. And I was like, okay, man, it's all new, it's all big and hard and everything. So I was like, yeah, sure. So I started taking some stuff, and it felt weird. You know, I was adapting to the training, but my body was responding in a different way I wasn't used to. And sure enough, I had a whey protein, and I'm lactose intolerant. Didn't think that one through. It was a couple different things, a handful of things, and over the course of a year, I slowly was either eliminating stuff or switching it out. And it finally hit me when I went on to the NSF website and thought, more and more people nowadays are testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs or illegal methods, whether it was intentional or not. There's a lot of people being cleared for unintentional, tainted supplements that they're taking. And so I figured, I'm going to do this right. I don't want my name to be on a list, whether it was intentional or not. I just don't want to be on that list. So I'm looking at the NSF website for replacements for what I'm taking. So I go on there looking for something that has enough protein and carb mixture that's going to help me recover. What do I find? But the Juice Plus Complete. I'm thinking, there it is. It's been right in front of me the whole time. And over the course of the second year, I eliminated everything that I was taking and transitioned into making shakes for recovery. And honestly, I honestly don't think I could be training at the level I'm at and having the success I'm having without recovering the way I am using Juice Plus Complete. Now I've got the bars. Now I've expanded to the omegas, and it's just really taken off. And honestly, it's really helped. One more thing I wanted to touch on was the similarities between training in swimming, performing at the end of the season, and taking Juice Plus, or even just the health of your body. So whether it's you got a goal to become healthier, or start taking Juice Plus and look for a result, or even making a change with your business, the way swimming works is there's so much time and energy spent training. Perhaps more than any other sport. Swimmers tend to retire as soon as they're done with college. Or you might see a handful, 2, maybe 3, make it to 30. They burn out physically just because of how much training is involved. I'll go to 4 or 5 meets during the season, but not rest for them, because training is so important. The training period to get up to a new level just takes a lot of time. And you kind of throw all your eggs in one basket for the end of the season, when you finally rest down and see if the technique changes you've made are paying off and the training adaptations. So I could spend 6 to 8 months training for one meet. And it's one of those things where you can't just hop in the pool and expect to go your best time the next day, or even the meet the next month. It's something that you have to be patient with. You got to trust your coach. You have to trust your instincts and yourself, and you got to have faith in it, and you got to put some time in and work at it. You know, and I kind of realized I've learned that to do that with swimming. It was a no-brainer to do that with Juice Plus, and it's probably the same way with running your business. You got to take one step at a time and be patient with it and put the work in, and before you know it, then you'll be able to look back and realize, look how far I've come from that first step I took. So,
for us, we are so grateful for this to have been in our life for the last 17 years. As I mentioned, especially as a mom now myself, I know what an impact that it has had on my life and now on my future generation of children. And Zane and I would not be up here today if it was not for our mom. And she's here today. We want her to stand up. And we are so grateful that she brought this into our family's life. and really introduced this to us all those years ago. And so thank you guys for listening to our story today, and we appreciate all of you and welcoming us back into this community. Thank you.